Well, hello and welcome back to the latest episode of my Love Machine podcast. Now, today I am joined by a very special guest, a wonderful dating coach and matchmaker all the way from America. Now, Laura Jacobs is someone that I've spoken to for several months, probably a good 6-7 months now, and I've promised to get her on this podcast because I really want you to listen to what she has to say. She's absolutely amazing. I follow her on Instagram. She has some amazing posts and very, very inspiring. We're going to be talking about how women can be successful when it comes to using dating apps and online dating. So Laura, first of all, welcome to my podcast. How are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you? Thanks for having me. We have been talking a long time, so glad we're doing it finally.
We have. It's all my fault. It's taken a long time to do this, but I have all these things come up, including last week, my microphone broke. That's my excuse for that. So if anyone listened to last week's video or last week's podcast, that's the reason why. Anyway, I'm so glad to have you here because I know that we agree on quite a lot of things when it comes to this. And also, we're probably going to disagree as well. So can I ask you, first of all, for those that don't know, who are you and what makes you a dating coach and matchmaker?
Well, I sort of fell into the profession. I think if you asked me 5 years ago, you're going to be a matchmaker, I'd be like, okay. But, I studied psychology in school, have my degree in neuroscience, and I always studied human behavior. And I just am so fascinated by people and dating. And, in my 20s, did a bunch of other careers and sort of fell into this when I turned 30 because I changed so much too. Like I started really looking for someone, and I just found it like fascinating how people are acting from a sociological level, and just how human behavior is changing so much from apps, because dating apps were something that didn't occur in my 20s. And then suddenly I'm having to use these to meet people, and things are changing. So, and then matchmakers started setting me up. That's really what happened. I was living in New York, and matchmaking is like a big business in New York City. And, I was single, and my girlfriend said, you got to go do the rounds to all the matchmakers. I'm like, what? She's like, yeah, you call them, you send your pictures, you send your info, and then you meet them and you interview with them, and they have great guys for you. So I did that, and I just was so fascinated. Like, this is a profession. This is wild, and I had some great dates, but I wanted so badly to give the guys like some feedback, but obviously I couldn't do that. I'm like coming on the date. So, long story short, I started working for a really high-end matchmaker there who kind of helped me scout and like taught me the business. And then I wanted to get into the coaching side too, because matchmaking and coaching are different. You can combine them, but a lot of matchmakers like don't coach.
I know I'm a coach for about 18 different agencies in the UK and one or two around the world as well. So I understand that completely. I have to ask, matchmakers in New York, do women pay for the services or just the men? How does it work?
So there are matchmakers that take female and male clients. It's a preference. Like, it's well known. Some matchmakers are better taking women clients, and some are better at taking male clients. But of course, it all comes down to when you're a paying client, that matchmaker is like actively scouting matches for you. So generally, men and women who are paying for such a luxury service are usually in their 40s and 50s. So if you have a paying male client in his 40s, he's probably going to want to date women in their 30s. That a woman in her 30s generally is not going to be shelling out, $25,000 for a matchmaker. So then we have like the free database. But yeah, usually it's both. But some matchmakers specialize. Like for me, I only take male clients for matchmaking, me personally.
Got it. In the UK, I think most people tend to pay equally, but there are free open databases that they tend to have. And there's a misconception that people who are on these free databases are being matched with each other, which would be completely pointless, wouldn't it, to do that? There's no business and it wouldn't work. So you only...
I always have to explain that, or someone will be in the free database and like, hey, I really am looking for someone. I'm like, I don't work for you. Like, I know we have to make money somehow. Yeah, we keep them in there in case they're a match for the paying client. Yeah,
exactly. It's not based on their requirements of the free members. It's based on the requirements and the needs of those that are paying. And I explain that to a lot of people. Over here in the UK, I give advice to people about which agency they should join, because I work with so many as their coach. I know how they work and which ones are good and which ones aren't. So that's your background. That's how you got into all this. So Laura, now you coach mainly women about how to date. And a lot of this must be with online dating apps nowadays. And there are so many coming out there and so many that are well known. Which ones are your favorites in terms of your clients when it comes to finding somebody?
I think, to be honest, I'm not too fond of dating apps in general. I created this course I have to try to, make women have better odds at finding a relationship. In general, I dislike dating apps, but I had to just be like, this is the world now. So I have to adapt. They have to adapt. Everyone is adapting. I like Hinge as far as like the mainstream dating apps go. And then I like some of the more elite ones like The League and Raya are good.
Fascinating. I would completely agree with you, probably in that order.
Yeah.
So I think Hinge is the one that's come up now. It's sneaked up to the top because it is more interactive, isn't it? And it's more based on conversation starters. And that is the one that I recommend to women in particular. Yeah. People are asking about Raya a lot now. How do you get into this? And invitation only, isn't it? So do you have any sneaky tips to get invited onto that?
I've been on it I'm very lucky. I was one of the beta testers of Raya.
Wow.
Okay. I got invited on when I was 24 or 25 years old. So I've had it 6 years. I've seen it grow from, a really small elite circle of people to now it's now they're very open to letting people on. You just have to have good recommendations. So make sure that, you try to get a friend pass, know somebody on it and get a good recommendation. When you apply, make sure your application is strong. Because if it's not strong in the beginning, they will waitlist you forever.
Well, okay. That's happened to some of my clients before they started working with me. But I do have lots of clients, celebrity clients and non-celebrity clients who are using it. And they over here in the UK, and they do really enjoy it. And they say it's quite good quality because anything that's selective is going to help you. I think one of the biggest problems women have when it comes to using these apps is finding a decent quality of guys. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So what advice would you give somebody when they're looking? Be less picky?
No, I mean, one of the core things that I use to teach women is basically, I know especially on Hinge, this can happen. I know the goal is talk to as many people as once, but I disagree with that mentality. So I tell my clients, talk to maximum 5 people at once. I know this is going to be hard for you. I know you think oh, you should match, but this is going to just put your attention in all these places. So if you talk to 5 guys or less, you're going to see who's interacting with you. You're going to see who's prioritizing you. That guy who's not responding, give him a day and then unmatch him. He's obviously talking to 30 girls. So you can, if you adjust your behavior, you can tell what they're doing with their behavior. So you have to kind of instead, the app is addicting and you have to play against your instincts to oh, what's next? If you're not into that guy, unmatch him and replace him, but don't ever keep it over 5.
I agree. I say 6. That's what I say. I think it's the same sort of thing because you can't manage that many people. You can't remember who you're talking to. And until you have the conversations with them. Do you recommend speaking on the telephone first before you meet people?
That's a personal preference. I personally do not like that. And it's a pet peeve when guys ask me that, hey, would you like to hump? I'll do it. If I like a guy, it happened to me a couple days ago. He was could we hop on a FaceTime? And I was okay. And I did it and whatever, it went well. Now we have a real date scheduled, but I just like to meet. That's me. But some people don't. Some people like it. They want to, make sure you're on the same page.
I think it's a good way of filtering out people that are unsuitable. Would you agree with that?
I think it can be. I think, I like to ask a lot of questions in the beginning to figure that out. A phone call can work too. But I ask tough questions on the physical app.
What do you ask?
I have this whole theory, which is be your own matchmaker. So I think matchmaking is so successful because we ask really in-depth, intense questions. That's our job. Like I sit there with a paying client and I'll interview them for an hour and a half, 2 hours about everything in their life, exactly what they're looking for. Like we get down to it, right? So because I've done that, and I do that with the database clients too, like the girls that or whatever who come in and aren't paying. So I know everything about them. So it's like by the end of it, I can't fail at matching someone because I know too much. It's like if I'm talking to a guy that doesn't want children, that already has kids, never in my dreams am I going to set him up with a woman that wants children. Well, a lot of people don't ask like tough questions like this on apps. So I get to it. Like I'll have like a small talk conversation, but then I tell women like, you need to ask this guy, you know, what he's looking for. Hi, have you, you know, I know these are intense questions. Have you been married before? Have you had kids? Do you want that in general? Like, if you don't kind of get to these like nitty gritty deal breakers, you're not going to have a good date. Like most of the time when women have bad dates, it all comes down to that they didn't screen the guy enough. Like I'll have a girl like, oh my God, I went on this date and it was terrible. I'm like, why? Well, he told me he never wants children. Can you believe it? I'm like, well, why didn't you figure that out before wasting your time and meeting him? But women are like afraid to ask these questions. They think it's like too intense. It's like, well, I don't know. That shouldn't scare off the wrong person to like ask what they want in general.
I agree with you, but I think that's a little bit too much, I would say. I think the phone call can do that. But I like what you're saying though, because that's like getting down to it. That's extreme filtering, that is.
I don't ask right away. I'm not just like, hey, what's up?
Do you want to have babies?
Yeah,
do you want to get married tomorrow in Vegas? No,
I try to make them frame it of like, what are your general, like, what do you desire in your life? What are your goals from this app? You know, I think a huge mistake that I think women make is they're like, hi, I'm looking for a serious relationship. I want to be upfront. I'm like, don't spoon feed him that. That's like, that is the biggest mistake. They're like, I'm looking for this. I want to make sure we're on the same page. Like you're giving a guy the easiest out to be like, yeah, me too. Like, so.
I see that. They just mirror what the profile says in order to get them as quickly as possible out and about, don't they? That's what they do.
Yeah.
But I like that. I like what you're looking for in life. That's probably a tone down. The way you frame it is important, like you said. I think that's really good. I think getting crystal clear on knowing what you want is an important part of this because people don't know. Your values have to be aligned. Your interest, your life goals, all these things have to be. You can't tell that off a profile that has 3 lines on it, can you?
No.
So how do you recommend to ladies that are looking at these profiles in the first place? What should they be looking for in the limited space that they've got to know if someone's a good match or not?
I think it's really hard to know before you talk to each other, but I think women need to use their intuition more, frankly. Like I do think that women we have a strong natural intuition that it just is what it is. And I think if you ask a lot of women about like a toxic ex they had or a bad guy they dated, they probably already knew that. They just were like ignoring red flags. So you can really see something in someone's eyes. I think women look for the wrong things on apps. I think they're like, oh, is he over 6'2"? Does he have a good job? Is he hot? It's like, okay, yes, I know you're going to match with that guy, but he could also be a narcissist. Like, I think that they should like ignore that stuff and look in the eyes. Do you see any kindness? If you don't, you should probably swipe left. I don't care how attractive that guy is.
I completely agree with you. It's about having kind eyes and a nice smile, someone that looks like a good person to go out with, not a serial killer. But then having said that, women can take really bad pictures too on these apps. I've seen them. Now, you're probably the exception because you're always taking pictures. So I want to ask you another question, slightly off a bit of a tangent here. How many messages a day do you get on these apps if you're using them?
I actually don't get that many.
I don't believe that. You must get so many.
No, I don't. I only use League, Riot, and Hinge. That's it. And I actually don't get very many. And you know, the upsetting and surprising thing, League and Riot, everyone is polite. But on Hinge, I get a lot of mean messages. Honestly,
do you?
A lot.
You have to give me some examples now.
Regularly, some guy is like, "Oh, your pictures must be retouched. You look heavier in picture 3 than 1." I'm like, someone is very toxic masculinity. Like I'll just unmatch, but it is upsetting. It's like some men I think get so angry they want to tear like a woman down.
Because they're not getting many responses. That's probably why. I'm not justifying it. I think it's absolutely terrible.
Yeah.
That's negging, isn't it? they call that. And is it called the same thing in America, negging?
We guess we would call it like bullying or kind of a little
Yeah, bullying.
I don't know. It does
Being
stuff though. I've thought about, just deleting Hinge altogether because of it. Because on Hinge you can send a message without matching. So that's like the problem. So it's like, yeah, sometimes I open it and I'm like, oh, like, all right.
I have seen some really evil messages that men have sent women over the years.
Yeah.
I have clients, I have friends that think I'll be interested, and they send me them as examples. And it is shocking. These men are never going to get a girlfriend, never going to get out on a date with people. So what they do is they antagonize, and like you said, they try to balance things out by just being really horrible. But of course, the best thing to do is probably just to report them and to block them and to forget about them and focus on the good 10% of guys who are out there, the top 10%. Yeah. They're the ones you really want, aren't they? The ones anyone's looking for.
Absolutely. And I think the difference is like, it's all about accountability at the end of the day. And the guys that are doing that, and even the guys who have bad behavior, it's because there's no accountability. Like on Riot and League, it's connected to your socials. It's connected to your Instagram. You cannot hide behind who you are. So there's no really, I mean, at least I've never experienced any like harassment or anything on those apps because nobody wants to get banned. Nobody wants, like, you can find out exactly who they are. On Hinge, it's like, this could be like a totally fake profile.
That's true. That is good for that reason. Something like Tinder is probably the opposite. I know you can link your Instagram. Tinder's probably the worst one that I recommend. I don't recommend it, sorry. It's just appalling. You can't tell if someone's a match for you based on age and location. You can't do that. It's not enough, is it? It's terrible.
No, it's not.
It's not. So going back to pictures, what sort of pictures do you recommend that your ladies use to get noticed for the right reasons?
I definitely think a smiling picture is really key. A couple. Men really love that warmth and kindness in a woman's eyes too. Nothing too provocative. You want the guy to be interested in you for you. Like, I mean, there's some very beautiful women that if you want to put a bikini picture on your dating profile, you go ahead, girl. But it's kind of making him look at you in only one way.
Yeah.
So you want, I mean, every attractive girl I know still wants a guy to be into her for her. So you're not getting that if you're posting like, super hottie photos. So I would say like beautiful and approachable, try that. And definitely smiling. Not too many with friends. I don't like when guys do that either. I'm like, I can't tell who you are. Like that one guy's hot, but like, I don't know. Like, is he available?
Women do that too. Women do it. They have group pictures.
Yeah.
What women tend to do is get the first pictures they've got on their phone and they upload them just to get it over and done with, don't they? And often it's them out drinking, out partying with their friends.
And that's not really a good look. It doesn't exactly scream like, okay, I'm ready to be wifed up. Like, look at me taking shots with the girls. Like, it's not.
It doesn't. And what if they are attracted to someone else in that picture rather than them? It's not a good idea to do that. And having pictures of you with other guys either isn't a good idea because they think, who is that guy? Is it an ex? Is it a friend? Do I have to compete with that person in one way or another? They're better looking than me. It's complicated. I think the focus should always be on the person.
Same with pictures with children if they're not your children. Like, what is this? I'm like, oh my God. like men do that all the time. And I'm like, are those your children? And they're like, no, that's like my friend's kids. I'm like, why is that on your phone?
And they caption it, don't they? These aren't my kids. They caption it.
They caption it. Like, if it's not your kids, just take it off. So weird.
I don't think kids should ever be on a dating app in the first place, personally.
I agree. It's just
not the place. No. I'll tell you what's very, very popular now at the moment is pictures of dogs. Having pets. Dogs are everywhere because they're attention seekers and they are conversation starters. And I do recommend that if you haven't got a dog, go and borrow one for a picture. But that's almost the same thing, isn't it?
Someone else's dog.
Someone else's dog. I had a client the other day. I said to her, go out and borrow a dog. And she said, okay. And she was sitting down having a photo shoot and the dog just happened to walk by. And it wasn't her dog. And the owner didn't notice. Took a nice picture. And she's used that on her Hinge and gotten loads of interest now. Because but is that a bad thing to do you think?
I don't think it's bad. I mean, like I have a cat, so I used to put her on my profile just so people like knew that I had a cat because some people are very like cat discriminatory. I don't know why. So like I would be like, whatever, like this is my fur child. It's a part of my life. So if a guy can't handle it, I guess he should know. But yeah, I think like if you have a dog, it's good to put it on there. If that's your fur baby, like that's kind of a deal breaker. It's like,
Why would someone not want to? Someone with, is it because the whole cat lady thing? That you're an old lady with a load of cats, and you're gonna.
Yeah, it's like it's a total weird connotation of the cat lady, and it's so strange to me because I love all animals. Don't get me wrong, but like I live a pretty intense life. I travel a lot. I could never have a dog. Like this is a really big responsibility. Like a dog is like you have to walk it twice a day. It needs to be around you all the time. Like I've had my cat 10 years, man. She's lived in LA, Miami, New York, Vancouver. She's a continental cat. She's chill. She doesn't care. She goes where I go, and she, you know, you feed her twice a day and she's happy to be alone and she's happy to cuddle. Like she's such a low maintenance pet. I don't know why cats have this bad connotation. They're very much easier to take care of than dogs.
I think one cat is absolutely cool, but people that have lots of cats, it becomes an issue.
Yeah, but if someone had 2 dogs, everyone's like, "Oh, it's so cute! Oh my god!"
It's not though, is it? Because then they've got to look after those 2 dogs. Those dogs are gonna be sitting there watching you when you come around. When you're Netflix and chilling, they're gonna be sat there just staring at you. These dogs, and cats don't really do that. They mind their own business, don't they?
No, cats totally mind their own business. My cat's like, she feels that this is her house. I'm like, what am I doing here? I mean, the audacity, like, you know.
That's common. That's common. Right, getting back on track now. So because we could talk for hours about this. I'm sure we could do. Okay, back to you're making me laugh there. Back to the dating profiles. What do you recommend in terms of the actual text? What should they write about themselves? Because I see so much generic nonsense. Like I like going out, I like staying in, I like eating food, I like laughing, I like breathing. What do you recommend? What about breathing? What do you recommend they should put in there?
I think like less is more. Like a fun fact is cool. I like on Hinge, like you know, when a guy is like, oh, like fun fact about me, like I used to live in Beijing and loved the Great Wall of China. It's like that's a cool fact. You can like remember someone by something unique like that about them. I always say don't put anything negative in there. Like I see a lot of women like not looking for hookups, only looking for this. I'm like, okay then. Like you may as well say, so I've been treated like a hookup so much in the past that I really have a hatred towards men. It's like very bad. It's like don't put like your don'ts. Try to be positive. Like
no time wasters, please. That's the favorite.
Oh my, I know. That's just it's so negative. It's like you may as well just say, hey, I have a ton of baggage and here it is. Bringing it in here. So yeah, positive. Like, hey, I'm looking for connections. I can't wait to find people to connect with on my level. And, you know, oh, I love to travel and this is somewhere cool I've been or, you know, just, I think keep it light. You can have like a deeper conversation later, but I never say for anyone to put anything really serious on their profile, like only looking for a relationship, no time. Exactly. Nothing negative, nothing too like intense in the actual profile.
I think it should be a snapshot of who you are and what dating you would be like, a little taster. And you've got to stand out from the competition, haven't you? If you want to attract the best guys on any dating app, you've got to stand out. So what tips and tricks can you recommend to stand out for the right reasons?
Well, I think you have to be yourself. You know, unfortunately, apps do have that competition factor, which, you know, is unfortunate in a way. But yeah, you can just be fun loving and really be yourself and be authentic and genuine. And the smiling pictures really help if you're a woman, because I think there's tons of like hot girls on there, but like that's not really what men want if they're just like, you know, super serious. And look, I've seen a lot of women's profiles look quite full of themselves on a dating app. So that's something definitely to like avoid. You want to be approachable. It sucks, but men are kind of scared of us sometimes. So you have to be like, it's okay.
Men can be intimidated by hot pictures.
Yeah, they are.
They think, why would this woman be interested in me? Which is, that's a whole issue in itself. But I notice a lot of women on these profiles, they have their Instagram tag on there and they say, come follow me on there. And they're using it purely to get followers on their Instagram. Have you seen that? Yeah. You're laughing in recognition. Have you tried doing that yourself then?
Oh, I would never do that. No way. No, I've never done that. I've definitely seen it. If anything, like just because I'm fairly easy to find on Instagram as you are too. Sometimes like I've unmatched somebody just because I'm like, I'm not feeling this. And then they'll find me somehow and DM me and be like, why'd you unmatch me? And I'm like, oh my God. So I never list my Instagram because I'm like, I don't even, also I feel like I don't want that to be a part of things like right away, you know.
I get a lot of strange messages on Instagram in my DMs, good and bad. I bet you get some weird ones as well, don't you, on there?
Yeah, mostly just people trying to like fight with me or disagree with me, and I'm just like, okay.
How do you mean?
Huh?
Who would have been disagreeing with you on your comments
Like,
on that?
disagree with a reel. Like, I've been,
Right.
posting reels lately because I think they're more effective. It's like they're 30 seconds and they're just kind of like my thoughts. And I posted one the other day, just about like, and it was very controversial. I had so many DMs like, "How dare you post this?" And I'm like, okay. I just posted how like normally in the past I used to date guys that were very broke. And now I have like a rule, somebody should, have something going for them. And like, I don't think that's a lot to ask.
That's
like,
not unreasonable.
It's not unreasonable. And they go, "Oh my God, you're a gold digger." I'm like, no, actually, I'm not. It's totally different. But like, yeah, people get very sensitive talking about money and dating and these topics.
But you're successful in your own right, aren't you? So why would you need someone else to provide for you? You don't need that. So that's the whole point, isn't it? And many of the women that probably both coach are the same. They're very successful women who are very strong, very career-minded. They don't need someone to provide for them. They just want someone to enjoy life with, to have adventures with, and have fun. And
absolutely. They don't want a freeloader, but neither does a guy. So it's like, it's okay to desire somebody who also has, a financial career going for them, just like you do. And I mean, I guess it was very controversial to say. I don't know.
But that's why you did it, though, isn't it? You get
people. Yeah. I knew they were gonna like. I knew they were gonna be like. I knew that was gonna happen. I knew it. Yeah. But it was like I always post like my own sort of frustrations, I guess. And that's definitely like a frustration of mine. Like the whole thing. Like some guys, they feel you should split the bill. They feel you should do all this stuff. Okay, well, I feel that I shouldn't have to work out then or put on makeup or look attractive. It's like, so.
Okay, right. That's a very common question people ask me. I've discussed it on my podcast quite a few times about who should pay on the first date. And the rules have all changed. The rules don't really matter for that because it's not going to be particularly going out for an expensive date. It's just going to be drinks normally. But men don't really understand that women take a long time to get ready.
Yeah, men do not comprehend this. They don't understand.
No, straightening. I used to have a girlfriend years ago, and she straightened her hair before she met me. And I didn't know what that even meant years ago. So I used to counsel, I used to flake her at the last minute, years and years ago. So I'm a bit tired now. I didn't realize she spent hours doing her hair. And I feel really guilty. That's why I'm mentioning it now. I'm outing myself for that horrible behavior of 20, 30 years ago, whatever it was. 10 years. But men don't realize that. Women take a lot of time to do makeup, to get themselves ready, maybe get a new outfit, get their hair done. And men might have a shave if you're lucky and a shower.
Exactly.
Put on the shirt. But you're right.
And men are like, "Oh, well, like I didn't make her do that. I don't care." It's like, okay, you don't care until she suddenly doesn't look like her dating app profiles and she's a catfish. It's like they care. Yes. Men care. So, yeah.
Do men catfish quite a bit?
I have had it happen. I have like there's a common one I've seen. I call it hat fishing.
Yes, yeah.
You know what it is.
Oh, yeah, of course I do. Yeah. It's but you can better explain to everyone listening what that is. But I know what that is. Obviously,
hat fishing is when a guy looks very attractive and you're like, oh, he's really hot, but he's wearing a cap, like a ball cap and everything.
It's cropped.
Or it's cropped and he's actually like, losing half his hair or has a weird hairline or hat fishing.
Hat fishing. That's a relatively new term though, isn't it, over the last year?
Yeah, it's a new term. Or they wear sunglasses in every photo. And I'm like, what is this? I can't even tell what you look like.
Yeah, that's another story I can tell you, but not on the podcast about that. I think I might have already mentioned that on my podcast once, but people get a very, very bad idea of me for all these horrible things I did over the years. So I'm not going to talk about that. I did read somewhere the other day that a study by eHarmony said that men like to see one picture of a woman wearing sunglasses in the album. And I've never really agreed with that before. I thought, you want to see the eyes, it's just a mask, isn't it, having sunglasses? But what are your thoughts on wearing sunglasses? in the photos.
I think they're terrible. I don't think you should wear them. I don't understand it. Like like the eyes are so captivating. You know, why are you posting a photo in sunglasses? I can't tell what you look like.
No, I do agree with you. And people have interesting sporty pictures. Maybe they are on a bike or they're they're scuba diving, jumping out of a plane, but they've still got their face all covered up. So you can't see all that men really care about looking at pictures. Does she look nice? What's she look like? It's all they care about, not how interesting the picture is or what they're doing.
Unfortunately, mostly men are very visual.
So what sort of pictures do you have on your profiles?
Let me take a look for you. They're all different. So Raya, I do have a lot of hottie pictures on Raya, but that's I think that's the only app that you're like allowed to do that. I feel like that's like a thing. I mean, mine are like nothing compared to some of the other girls' profiles I see, but there's like supermodels on there. So you're like, oh my God, I have to like kind of compete to do this. And like, yeah, when you have like professional athletes and celebrities on Raya, you're like, I mean, I gotta look good. Like,
it's difficult. It's difficult. There's lots of celebs on there.
Yeah, you have to put your best foot forward on that one.
I know. I do critique a lot of people's profile pictures and profiles, but I'm not going to do yours, don't worry, because that wouldn't go down very well. Because you are, of course, an expert and you know that yourself. So this is not that podcast.
Yeah, you can. I on the league, I have pretty very professional photos. Let's see. I have
all your pictures are professional, aren't they?
No. Like I have professional in terms of like I don't know why I can't pull my profile up right now. Where am I? I have like, a dress and I'm smiling and then a smiling like headshot and then like at an event and that's really it. I try to keep league is for professionals, right? So
of course it is, yeah.
Yeah, I don't do like the hottie pictures there. And then Hinge, let me pull that up. What do I have? Yeah, like approachable.
That's really approachable, but there's no eye contact.
Yeah, but I had to pick a smiling picture. Let's see, do I have another one? No, that's my only smiling pic. I like that picture, smiling.
It's a nice picture. I think it's important for your main picture to have eye contact because you want to reach out to the person looking. Interesting. Obviously, you disagree though, so that's good.
No, that's okay. I mean, I need to like get a better smiling photo where I'm looking at the camera. This one looks not super professional, whereas like
you're right, it looks like girl next door, but nice girl next door. That's what you're going for, isn't it?
Yeah,
attractive and not intimidating.
Yes, that's attractive and not intimidating. Exactly.
That's it. So that's not it's a nice picture.
Yeah,
I like the stripes. It's hard to describe that to people because they can't see it.
We're on a podcast. I'm like, and we're talking about this photo that no
one we are. I will at some point start recording these and using them on YouTube, but not for this one because it's too. I'm not quite there yet. It takes me 10 hours to record a 5-minute video, so I'm not going to do that.
Yeah, no worries.
What about your text? What sort of things do you have on there? Actually, don't say that. That's your private information there in terms of your text. You don't want to give that away, do you? If you spent hours writing that.
Like what I would say on an app?
Yeah, but how often do you change what you write on there?
I would say I never change Raya or League.
Yeah.
Hinge, yeah, sometimes I change it. Or sometimes I just delete Hinge because sometimes I get so frustrated with it. I just delete it completely and then like whatever, some months will go by and I was like, oh, I guess I need to make a new profile. So I kind of change it every time, I suppose. But sometimes I never delete the others. Hinge just like kind of bothers me sometimes, just probably from the mean guys on there.
You know that on these apps, so you delete it. That's a common cycle that I see women. They delete the app and then a month later they restart it again.
Yeah.
Back on it again. Is that what you do? But
sometimes, which also is good for the algorithm, actually. That's also like a little tip because I know for a fact that, when you just joined Hinge, it'll say just joined and you get shown to everyone. And if you've had it for like 3 months, things will get stagnant. You're not going to get as many likes, as many matches because they've kind of put you to the bottom. Mm-hmm. So it can also be a way to kind of restart. Like, if you want to delete the whole thing and start over, that's good. You'll come up in the top in the algorithm.
It takes about 3 months to do that though. if you're going to delete your app, you have to wait 3 months to start again, and that's how they generally work. You can't just delete it and then come on again, and then you're top of the matches again. It doesn't work that way. So if you're going to do that, I recommend waiting 3 months to do it and then restarting. But obviously, it's working for you. So that's.
I don't know. I mean, like, it's not something I do intentionally. It's like I'll just be like, I'm sick of this app, and then probably like 3 months later is when I do make a new one. So,
that works, because if you start engaging with low quality guys because your numbers are decreasing and you're settling, then the app thinks that's okay, and your score gets lower and lower and lower. So it's a good idea to start again. Take yourself off an app, go onto a different one for 3 months, and then come back to it. That's what I recommend. But Laura, we have talked for a long time now already, and we are now at the end of my podcast. And I really want to keep talking, but it's very late. I know you're very, very busy. So thank you so much for joining me. If somebody wants to find out more about you and what you do, how do they find you? As long as they're nice and not mean, of course.
They can find me on Instagram. My handle is Laura R. Jacobs. They can go to my website, which is moderndatingcoach.com, and find all the information there.
Wonderful. Thank you very much indeed. I hope people have a good look and follow you on there and look at your reels and get stuck in with the comments, as long as they're nice. Otherwise, I'll come after you all one by one with a baseball bat. But Laura, thank you so much. It's been wonderful talking to you at last. I'm sure we'll do this again. Hope it won't take another 8 months. But thank you very much and have a great day.
You too.
Thank you so much for listening. I'd love to give you a free copy of my latest book, which you can download right now from my website, jamespreece.com. If you enjoyed this podcast, I'd really appreciate it if you could share the love by taking a few seconds to write a positive review on the iTunes store right now. See you next time.